Have you ever noticed how a thunderstorm can change the entire mood of the night? Cloud with lightning. The way the lightning flashes for a split second, showing just enough to make you wish you hadn't looked. The low rumble that rattles your chest, and that uneasy silence that follows like the world itself is holding its breath. Most of us close our curtains, stay inside, and wait for it to pass. But some people, they experience something else. Something that came with the storm. Because when thunder roars and the lights go out, sometimes you're not as alone as you think. Shadows move where they shouldn't. Voices whisper your name from the dark. And by the time you realize it's not just the wind, it's already too late. Tonight, I'm sharing 3 true thunderstorm horror stories that'll make you see lightning in a whole new way. Trust me, you'll want to watch this one till the very end. So grab your headphones, get comfortable, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button high voltage. Because once the storm starts, there's no turning back. The rain was coming down in sheets that night, a steady wall of water hammering against the windshield. The driver had been on the road for hours, heading home after a long shift. The highway stretched endlessly before him, dark and empty. Not a single pair of headlights in sight. Every now and then, lightning split the sky, a flash so bright it turned the world white for a heartbeat before fading into black again. The wipers struggled to keep up, squeaking against the glass like they were begging for rest. He turned up the heater, leaned forward, and muttered to himself, "Just a few more miles, almost home." But with every passing minute, the storm only grew worse. The thunder shook the steering wheel. The wind howled across the open road, like something alive, something angry. Low thunder rumble. And then, the first flash. For just a fraction of a second, the lightning illuminated the roadside, and that's when he saw it, a figure, standing completely still by the guardrail. It was gone the moment the light faded, swallowed by darkness. He blinked, squinted at the rain, and chuckled nervously. Probably just a signpost, or my eyes playing tricks. But then another flash, and there was again, the same figure, same spot, just standing there, motionless. He felt a chill run down his spine. There was something off about it. It wasn't the shape of a sign. It looked human. He slowed down, peering through the windshield. But the storm was too heavy, the rain turning everything into a blur. When the next bolt of lightning struck, the figure was gone. He shook his head, forcing a laugh. "It's late. I'm tired. Don't be stupid." He turned up the radio just to fill the silence. But static hissed through the speakers, a low, distorted hum that seemed to sync with the thunder outside. Sound of tires on wet road. Faint static noise. A few minutes later, lightning flashed again, and his heart froze. The figure wasn't on the roadside anymore. It was closer, standing in the middle of the lane, facing his car. He slammed on the brakes. The tires screeched against the wet asphalt. The car spun slightly before coming to a stop just yards away. His hands trembled on the wheel. The figure was gone again. Rain hammered the roof. Wind rocked the car. And for a moment, everything was quiet. Until the next flash. Sudden thunder crack. She was right there, beside his window. A woman, soaked to the bone, her hair plastered to her face. Her eyes, wide, hollow, almost lifeless. Her mouth moved slowly, silently, like she was trying to speak or scream, but no sound came out. He couldn't breathe. He reached for the lock, click, sealing the doors. Lightning flashed again, and she was gone, vanished. The driver sat frozen, rain streaming down the glass where she had been standing. He could still see the faint outline of a handprint on the window, and something in him snapped. He floored the gas pedal. The car roared forward through the storm, his heart pounding harder than the thunder outside. He didn't look back. Not once. Fade in. Sound of morning rain easing, birds faintly chirping. Hours later, he made it home, parked crooked in the driveway, still shaking. He didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. The next morning, he drove straight to the local police station. When he told the officer what he'd seen, the man behind the desk slowly leaned back, his face turning pale. "You said the old highway near mile marker 42? The driver nodded. The officer sighed. You're not the first to see her. He reached into a drawer and pulled out an old newspaper clipping, dated nearly 20 years ago. A headline read, "Local woman missing after fatal storm crash. Body never recovered." The photo beneath it showed the same stretch of highway, same guardrail, same mile marker. The officer looked at him gravely. "Every big storm, we get calls like yours. Drivers see a woman standing by the road, trying to flag someone down. Some say she's asking for help. Others say she's warning them." The driver swallowed hard. Warning them about what? The officer stared out the window. Dark clouds rolling in again. Maybe about whoever hit her that night. Thunder cracks in distance. The driver left the station, but the words haunted him. Every time it rained. Every time he drove that road. Sometimes he swore he could still see her reflection in the windshield, just for a second, when lightning flashed. Lo, haunting music fades in. They say she never found peace. And on nights when the storm is at its worst, she's still out there, standing by the road, soaked and silent, waiting for someone to stop. Thunder, crash, silence. Candle, if you're still here, you're brave. But trust me, the next story is even darker. Before we go on, make sure you've hit subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and keep watching till the end. Because what happens in the next storm might just keep you awake tonight. Cloud with lightning. It was supposed to be the perfect weekend getaway. Two friends, Jason and Luke, had rented a small cabin deep in the woods. No city noise, no phones, no deadlines. Just quiet. The weather app said light rain, maybe a thunder shower later that night. But as the sun dipped behind the trees, the light drizzle became a downpour, the kind that turns the sky black and the forest into a wall of noise. By 9 p.m., the power was gone. The only light came from the flickering candles they'd set on the old wooden table. Shadows danced across the cabin walls. Every creak of the floor, every gust of wind against the windows made the place feel alive. Luke laughed it off. Just the perfect horror movie setting, huh? Jason smirked, though his eyes lingered on the dark window. Outside, the forest swayed in the wind, trees bending, branches scraping against the glass. Thunder rumbles low. They pour themselves a drink and try to keep the mood light, but the storm outside only grew angrier. Then came the sound. Knock, knock, knock. Both froze. It was slow, deliberate. 3 knocks at the front door. Jason whispered, "Probably a branch, wind or something." Luke grabbed a flashlight and walked to the door, his footsteps echoing. Creak of door hinge. He opened it, nothing. Just rain pouring down, the forest pitch black beyond the porch. He shut it quickly, forcing a laugh. "See? Just your imagination." Jason didn't reply, because the moment Luke turned his back, there was another sound. Knock, knock, knock. This time louder, closer. Jason's voice cracked slightly. "Tell me you heard that." Luke's hand tightened around the flashlight. Yeah, I did." They waited, but the knocking stopped. The only thing they could hear now was the storm howling around them. Minutes passed. They tried to shake it off, go back to their candles and conversation. But the silence between thunderclaps felt heavy, like the air itself was listening. Then, thud. Something hit the side of the cabin. Hard. Luke jumped up, flashlight in hand. They pushed open the front door again and stepped out into the rain. The beam of light sliced through the darkness. And that's when they saw it. Footprints. Bare footprints. Pressed deep into the mud, leading away from the front steps, then looping around the cabin. Jason's voice was barely a whisper. Those weren't there before. They followed the trail slowly, the mud sucking at their shoes, rain soaking through their clothes. When they reached the back of the cabin, they froze. The footprints didn't lead away this time. They stopped at the window. Just one window. Jason's window. And there were no prints leading back. Thunder booms, lightning flashes. For a split second, the whole yard lit up white. And in that blinding light, Jason saw it. A face pressed against the glass from inside the cabin. He stumbled back, yelling. Luke spun around, but by the time they rushed to the window, The face was gone. They ran back inside, slamming the door shut, bolting it, pushing a chair against a handle. Their hearts pounded in the dark. Jason grabbed his phone. No signal. Not a single bar. The candlelight flickered violently, like the storm outside was breathing against the walls. Then knock. This time it came from the back door. Both of them froze, staring down the hallway. The knocking came again, faster, more frantic. Knock, 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 knock. Jason shouted, "Who's there?" No answer. The storm roared. The sound of branches breaking filled the air. The cabin felt like it was being swallowed by the night itself. They backed away slowly, clutching the flashlight like a weapon. Jason whispered, "It's trying to get in." Luke nodded, his voice shaking. But what if it already is? Eerie silence, only rain and thunder. Hours passed. They huddled near the fireplace, too terrified to move. Every sound made them flinch, the wind, the roof, the distant groan of wood. Eventually, exhaustion won. They sat in silence until the first light of dawn crept through the window. The storm had passed. The rain was gone. Jason was the first to move. He unblocked the door slowly, the wood creaking under his hands. When they stepped outside, the air was still. The world felt eerily calm. Then they saw it. The muddy footprints were still there, circling the cabin. But now a new set joined them. 3 sets of prints. Jason frowned, whispering, "Wait, we only came out once last night." Luke went pale. "Then who?" The prints led away this time, toward the trees, disappearing into the thick forest beyond. And just as the wind stirred the branches again, they heard it, faint, almost carried by the breeze. Knock, knock, knock. Thunder rumbles far in the distance, fade to silence. Candle, if you thought that was chilling, you might want to brace yourself. The next story is darker, deeper, and based on one of the most terrifying real-life storm encounters ever recorded. Before we continue, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, and stay till the very end, because Story 3 might just make you leave your lights on tonight. High voltage. The storm had rolled in faster than the forecast predicted. By the time Amanda realized how bad it was getting, the streetlights outside were already flickering. She lived alone in a quiet suburban neighborhood, rows of tidy houses, empty driveways, and trees that now whipped violently in the wind. Her dog, Baxter, paced nervously near the window, low growls rumbling in his chest. Amanda glanced up as lightning cracked across the sky, illuminating the whole living room for a split second before the power went out. Click. Silence. Total darkness. She sighed, half annoyed, half unsettled. Great. Perfect timing. She grabbed a few candles from the drawer, lit them, and watched their glow push back the darkness. Just barely. The wind rattled the windows. The house groaned under the storm's weight. When she checked her phone, no signal, not even a single bar. Outside, the rain came down in thick waves, turning the street into a river of reflections. Baxter suddenly stiffened, staring toward the window, growling low and deep. Amanda frowned. "What is it, boy?" Thunder rolled again, and from across the street, she heard it. A scream, high-pitched, terrified, and then silence. She rushed to the window. Through the blur of rain, she could barely make out a shape movement between the houses. Someone was out there. Oh my God, someone's hurt. Her pulse quickened. She threw on her raincoat, grabbed a flashlight, and opened the door. The storm's cold breath hit her instantly, wind whipping at her hair, rain stinging her face. Baxter barked frantically from inside as she stepped out onto the porch. "Stay. I'll be right back." Sound of footsteps splashing through puddles, wind howling. The street was almost invisible in the downpour. Lightning flashed, revealing driveways, fences, and the glint of parked cars. Amanda shouted into the storm. "Hello, is anyone out here?" No answer. Then she saw it. A shadow crouched near a car across the street, perfectly still. She hesitated, gripping the flashlight tighter. "Hey, are you okay?" No movement. She took a step closer. Rain drenched her face, her shoes sinking in the mud. Another flash, and the shadow was gone. Her heart slammed in her chest. She whipped the flashlight around, scanning the street. Nothing. Only rain and thunder. Then, click, her flashlight flickered and died. No, no, no. She turned back toward her house. Through the storm, she could barely see it. Her front door swinging open. Wide open. Baxter? She ran, slipping on the wet pavement, her heart pounding louder than the thunder. When she burst through the doorway, Baxter was barking furiously, standing at the foot of the stairs, teeth bared. Candlelight flickered weakly across the floor, and then she saw them muddy footprints, leading from the open door, through the hallway and up the stairs. Amanda froze. Every hair on her neck stood up. She whispered, "Oh my God, someone's in the house." She grabbed Baxter and backed into a small hallway closet, closing the door slowly, silently. The dog trembled in her arms, but stayed quiet. Thunder crashed outside. The walls seemed to shake. And then she heard footsteps, heavy, slow, coming down the stairs. Thud, thud, thud. Amanda held her breath, tears welling up as she tried not to make a sound. The faint candlelight through the slats of the door flickered with each flash of lightning. The footsteps stopped. For a few seconds, there was nothing, just a storm outside. Then, creak, the floorboard right outside the closet. Amanda's heart hammered against her ribs. Through the narrow crack in the door, she saw it, a shadow, a pair of feet, standing still. Lightning flashed, and for a brief second, she saw a movement. The shadow bent down like it was listening. She covered Baxter's muzzle, whispering, "Shoo, please don't bark, please." The shadow lingered. Then, slowly it straightened up and walked away. Soft footsteps fade. Thunder fades to a distant rumble. Amanda stayed in that closet for the rest of the night. She didn't dare move, not until the wind died and the faint light of dawn crept through the cracks. When she finally opened the door, her candles had burned out. The house was quiet. She called the police, voice shaking. Within minutes, 2 officers arrived. They searched the entire house, every room, every corner. No one there, but the footprints were real, leading from the door to the stairs, then gone. One of the officers stepped outside, scanning the muddy ground near her porch. After a few minutes, he returned, pale, rain dripping from his hat. "Ma'am," he said softly, "we found something." He showed her a photo on his phone, muddy footprints beneath her living room window. "Whoever it was," he said, "they weren't just passing by last night." Amanda blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" The officer hesitated before replying. "The prints are old. We think they've been there for days." Thunder rumbles one last time, slow, eerie fade out. Candle, and that was the blackout. 3 storms. 3 true encounters. 3 people who'll never hear thunder the same way again. If your heart's still pounding, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell icon, and stay tuned for more real horror stories every week. Cloud with lightning. Because next time the lights flicker, it might not be the storm outside. Thunderstorms, they remind us how fragile safety really is. You can lock your doors, close your windows, but when the lightning flashes and the shadows move just right, it's hard not to wonder what else might be out there. Whether you're driving down a lonely highway, trapped in a dark cabin, or waiting for the lights to flicker back on, remember, it's not always a storm you should fear. It's what walks with it. Soft rumble fades, a faint wind howls. If you've made it this far, you're braver than most. So before you go, hit subscribe, because the next storm might be closer than you think.